Imagine standing on the wind-swept fields of southeast England in the tense spring of 1944. The air is thick with anticipation as the largest military operation in human history prepares to unfold. Nazi reconnaissance planes roar overhead, their cameras capturing what appears to be a massive Allied buildup. Row after row of powerful Sherman tanks sit gleaming under the pale English sun, their heavy turrets pointed menacingly across the channel toward Pas de Calais. Deep, muddy tracks scar the ground from apparent constant movement. Supply depots bustle with activity. Fake radio messages crackle across the airwaves with urgent coded orders. At the center of it all is the legendary General George S. Patton, openly commanding what looks like the main striking force. Hitler and his top generals are absolutely convinced this is where the decisive blow against Fortress Europe will land. But here comes the jaw-dropping revelation that still fascinates military historians and storytellers today. Almost everything the Germans saw was completely fake. Those intimidating tanks were nothing more than giant inflatable rubber balloons, clever decoys that a small team of soldiers could deflate, fold, and relocate in minutes. A single sharp branch, a strong gust of wind, or one well-placed bullet could collapse the entire illusion in seconds. This is the astonishing true story of the fake army made of inflatable tanks, one of the most audacious, creative, and wildly successful military deception operations ever conceived. As Allied leaders meticulously planned the D-Day invasion on the Normandy beaches, they faced a terrifying strategic dilemma. The Germans had heavily fortified the shortest and most obvious crossing point at Pas de Calais, with mines, bunkers, artillery, and elite panzer divisions. Launching the real invasion there would have resulted in catastrophic casualties. The brilliant solution: fabricate an entire phantom army, so convincing, so detailed, and so threatening that the Nazis would be forced to keep their strongest forces pinned down in the wrong location, while the actual landings struck Normandy by surprise. This masterpiece of misdirection was codenamed Operation Fortitude, and it played a crucial role in changing the course of World War II. What makes this tale so irresistibly gripping is how everyday creativity and Hollywood-style showmanship were transformed into devastating weapons of war. British Film Studio. Technicians from places like Shepperton Studios, talented American artists, resourceful engineers, and quick-thinking soldiers pooled their skills to create a full-scale theatrical production of military power, using nothing but air, canvas, rubber, sound recordings, and pure audacity. They didn't merely fool the enemy from thousands of feet in the air, they constructed an immersive, multi-sensory illusion that deceived German intelligence services on every level. As you listen deeper into this remarkable story, you'll uncover how a relatively small group of imaginative young men, many recruited directly from art schools and design backgrounds, managed to outsmart one of the most ruthless and methodical war machines the world has ever seen. Their inflatable tanks never fired a single real shot, yet they may have saved tens of thousands of Allied lives and helped accelerate the liberation of Europe from Nazi occupation. This isn't the plot of a Hollywood spy thriller or a fictional novel. It's thoroughly documented history that stayed classified for decades after the war. Prepare yourself for a narrative packed with high-stakes tension, ingenious battlefield tricks, narrow escapes from detection, clever psychological manipulation, and a payoff that landed on the morning of June 6, 1944. The fake army of inflatable tanks didn't just deceive the enemy. It proved beyond doubt that sometimes the most powerful force on any battlefield is the power of pure illusion and strategic misdirection. Get ready to be amazed by how something as simple as pumping air into rubber shapes helped win the war. The concept of using inflatable military decoys had roots in earlier World War I experiments with wooden dummies, but it reached its spectacular peak during the desperate preparations for the 1944 invasion. At the core of the deception stood the fictional 1st United States Army Group, known as FUSAG. This phantom force was supposedly gathering in strength in southeast England, positioned directly across from Pas de Calais, and ready to launch the main assault on Europe. In truth, the real Allied invasion forces were concentrating farther west in preparation for the Normandy beaches. To make the elaborate lie completely believable, the Allies orchestrated an incredibly sophisticated, multi-layered campaign that combined visual tricks, sonic deception, radio chatter, and human intelligence operations. The inflatable tanks themselves were engineering marvels of wartime ingenuity, primarily designed by British specialists and manufactured in significant quantities. These decoys consisted of rubberized fabric stretched over lightweight collapsible frames. Using portable air compressors, crews could fully inflate a realistic replica of an M4 Sherman tank in roughly 30 minutes. From high-altitude reconnaissance flights by the Luftwaffe, these dummies were virtually indistinguishable from genuine armored vehicles. Artists meticulously painted realistic shadows, weathering effects, and camouflage patterns to enhance the illusion in aerial photographs. Specially assigned units, especially the famous American 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, affectionately nicknamed the Ghost Army, breathed life into these static props. This hand-picked group of approximately 1,100 creative soldiers included painters, sculptors, sound engineers, designers, and camouflage experts drawn from prestigious art institutions across America. Their daring mission was to simulate the presence of up to 30,000 real troops and multiple full divisions through an elaborate traveling road show of deception. They would rapidly deploy hundreds of inflatable tanks across open fields, construct convincing fake supply dumps complete with dummy fuel drums and crates, create realistic tire tracks using modified vehicles, dragging special attachments, and even hang laundry on clotheslines outside dummy encampments to suggest ordinary soldiers going about daily life. Visual elements formed only one layer of the sophisticated trickery. The Ghost Army also operated massive sonic deception trucks equipped with powerful speakers that blasted pre-recorded soundscapes of roaring tank engines, clanking tracks, marching troops, and construction noise across the quiet English countryside, especially during the night. Meanwhile, carefully scripted fake radio transmissions mimicking authentic military communications were broadcast to flood German listening posts with misleading information. Legendary double agents, most notably the Spanish spy Juan Pujol Garcia, operating under the code name Garbo, fed meticulously crafted false intelligence directly to Nazi handlers in Berlin, constantly reinforcing the narrative that Patton's enormous force was preparing to strike at Calais. The level of operational detail was extraordinary. Dummy landing craft constructed from wooden scaffolding and canvas were positioned in harbors. Entire fake airfields with inflatable aircraft were assembled, and mock command headquarters featured visible staff. officers, walking around to complete the picture. Maintaining the deception demanded constant vigilance and hard work. Teams patrolled the dummy sites around the clock, repairing punctures caused by weather or accidents, carefully monitoring and adjusting internal air pressure, and repositioning entire groups of inflatable tanks under the cover of darkness to simulate ongoing activity and movement. In some cases, they would deliberately deflate or damage certain decoys to make the scene appear more authentic if enemy aircraft came too close for comfort. The soldiers of the Ghost Army lived with immense psychological pressure, operating dangerously close to potential combat zones with very little real defensive capability, forced to rely almost entirely on their creativity and wits rather than conventional weapons. Their combined efforts successfully pinned down several powerful German panzer divisions near Pas-de-Calais for critical weeks, even after the Normandy landings had already begun. Hitler and his high command remained stubbornly convinced that a second, even larger invasion was imminent, which caused them to delay sending vital reinforcements to the actual battlefields in Normandy. This crucial hesitation provided the real Allied troops with the precious time they needed to establish and expand their hard-won foothold on the continent. Although the inflatable army had its vulnerabilities, rain could cause sagging, strong winds threatened to topple units, and sharp objects were a perpetual hazard. The masterful integration of every deception layer created an overwhelmingly convincing illusion that thoroughly fooled German intelligence. Following the dramatic success of the initial D-Day landings, the Ghost Army refused to rest on its laurels. Instead, these masters of illusion continued their remarkable traveling roadshow of deception as they moved across liberated Europe, executing more than 20 additional major deception operations right up until the final days of the war in 1945. They played a vital role in shielding real Allied troop movements, sowing confusion among German commanders regarding actual strengths and intended directions of attack, and protecting exposed flanks during key advances such as the brutal Battle of the Bulge and the dangerous crossing of the Rhine River. In several notable operations, the Ghost Army successfully simulated the presence of much larger forces to cover the repositioning of tens of thousands of genuine troops. Their inflatable tanks combined with sonic deception tactics repeatedly persuaded the enemy that significant armored units were concentrated in locations where they were not actually present. Beyond the technical achievements, the personal stories of the men who served in this unique unit are equally compelling and inspiring. Many were exceptionally talented young artists who would later achieve great fame in the post-war art world, including individuals like Ellsworth Kelly and even fashion icon Bill Blass, who served in camouflage and deception capacities. These creative soldiers applied their artistic training to perfecting realistic shadows on fake tank hulls, designing believable dummy airfields, complete with fake planes, and writing convincing dialogue for radio operators. After the guns finally fell silent, the full details of Operation Fortitude and the Ghost Army's activities remained highly classified for many decades due to ongoing Cold War security concerns. Veterans were sworn to secrecy and could not share their extraordinary experiences even with family members for years. When the complete story gradually emerged in the late 20th century through declassified documents and veteran interviews, It captured the imagination of people around the world as a shining example of how intelligence, creativity, and psychological warfare could triumph over brute military force. The legacy of these inflatable tanks continues to resonate strongly even in the modern era. Today's advanced militaries around the globe still employ sophisticated inflatable decoys representing tanks, missile launchers, aircraft, and other high-value assets because visual deception retains its effectiveness despite the prevalence of satellites, drones, and advanced sensors. The World War II inflatable tanks demonstrated conclusively that human ingenuity, when carefully coordinated with intelligence operations and deep psychological insight, can accomplish strategic goals that overwhelming firepower alone might not achieve. Military historians continue to analyze and debate precisely how much direct credit Operation Fortitude deserves for the ultimate success of the Normandy campaign, but virtually all agree that it provided essential support by keeping key German reserves immobilized during the most vulnerable early days of the invasion. The fake army made of inflatable tanks has come to symbolize something much deeper about the nature of human conflict. That imagination, misdirection, and strategic deception can sometimes prove just as powerful as any physical weapon on the battlefield. These silent rubber warriors never fired a single live round, yet they played a significant part in turning the tide of the largest amphibious assault in history. From the muddy fields of southern England to the battle-scarred landscapes of France, Belgium, and Germany, their invisible yet highly visible presence bought precious time and helped save countless lives on both sides. In our current age of cutting-edge military technology and artificial intelligence, this historical episode serves as a powerful reminder of the enduring importance of creative thinking and adaptability under extreme pressure. The brave men of the Ghost Army eventually returned to their civilian lives carrying heavy secrets they were forbidden to discuss for decades, yet their collective contribution to the Allied victory was profound and lasting. Today, as we continue to honor the courageous heroes who stormed the beaches on D-Day, we must also remember and celebrate these unsung masters of illusion, the artists, engineers, and soldiers who waged war not with cold steel and bullets, but with clever ideas, inflated rubber, and the subtle power of perception. Their incredible story stands as an enduring testament to the value of thinking creatively outside conventional boundaries, quite literally inflating the appearance of victory out of thin air. It teaches us that in both war and life, what the enemy believes to be true can often matter far more than cold objective reality. The inflatable tanks may have contained nothing but ordinary air, but the extraordinary courage, cleverness, teamwork, and determination of the people behind them carried the immense weight of freedom and hope across an entire continent. This extraordinary chapter in military history continues to inspire new generations of strategists, artists, innovators, and storytellers, proving once again that sometimes the most effective army is the one that exists primarily in the mind of your opponent.